Hey coaches, welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. As you can see, this episode we're going to deal with coaching the offensive line's gap hinge technique. I just for the heck of it, put it on my Facebook, my Football Talk with Coach Chip Facebook page, and then I also shared it to a couple other pages. And I don't know if they were being snarky or what, and one of those pages they do get kind of rough sometimes, especially with young kids, and I think one guy even thought I was a kid, posting a highlight of a gap hinge. And but one thing was obvious from the handful of comments is what I call a gap hinge is not what other people call a gap hinge, or, well, let's just look at it, and I'm going to show you the video that kind of was the impetus of this episode. Now, on this play here, and this is a blow up, that's why it's a little blurry. My right tackle, my freshman right tackle, is about midway through his freshman year. This was the 15-0 state championship team. He was a junior on the 14-0 team and played guard for us. But he's a freshman, 14, I think he turned 15 during the season. And we're going to run a sweep to our left. I believe we buck blocked it, which means you got to pull in guard. And you're going to gap hinge, at least the way I look at it, and I tell my tackles, if you got gap hinge, you know the guard beside you is pulling away from you. That's what you know. And this isn't bad. This is not a bad. All right, here we go. You're going to step into the B gap with his inside foot. Boom. You're going to shut it off. Okay? It's not bad. All right, one more time. Boom. And the kid realizes it. Good job by that kid taking off in a good pursuit angle. Now I want to show you a drill that I've done. This is not an everyday drill. I say do it 2 or 3 times preseason, depending on how your tackles need it, especially if you got 2 O-line coaches and you can put them over there on the side and let them practice doing their gap hinge. So this really goes back to the wing T days. I know some wing T guys call it a pull check. Some call it a fire block. I've heard coaches call it a cutoff, a shut off. You're shutting off the B gap. If it's a tight end, you're shutting off the C gap. But any of your guys are going to be using the gap hinge technique. And by the way, my rule, if say we're running power left, my right tackle's rule is B gap flip. And one of the reasons I used to call it a fire block or a pull check block, because remember, I was wing T for like 20 years. And when I saw this terminology years ago, about 10, 12 years ago, I said, oh, I like gap hinge because it's very descriptive. And I try to be real descriptive with my rules with my kids. And so I just say B gap flip to the tackles. And it's hyphenated, it's dashed, which means it's a progression. B gap dash flip. So they'll never get to the flip. The flip is not mandatory. Because if something comes in the B gap, let's just say it's the right tackle. Of course, y'all have got enough sense to flip it to the left side. If something comes in the B gap, as soon as you step hard into it, what you're going to do is you're going to put that weight, and I teach weight distribution. I said, hey, you're stepping left, where should your weight be? On the right, coach. Correct. So that weight's on the right foot. You're pushing off that right foot, going hard down. And you may have to drop a little bit to get an angle, depending on it, and get in that B gap. And if that 3 tech or even a 2 tech slants in that B gap, you're done. That's where you're staying. You're not done blocking. You're done with the rule. You got in the B gap, and something came, so there is no flip. There is no flip. There is no hinge, if you will. There is no hinge. It's just gap because something showed up. Now, you can try to torque inside, torque your butt inside toward the ball and get inside of this cat and flip there and hinge there, okay? But you're not going to just flip like in this picture here, in this diagram here. All right, so here you got the same, here you got a 3 tech, he shoots B gap. Dude, that's you. That's all day. We can't let the B gap, a guy have a run through on the B gap. Right here, you got the same technique, and he spikes across the face and goes A gap. That's not you, okay? If it's power and the guard's pulling, you got the center blocking back on that guy. Okay, so you're going to B gap, check it, pull, check. Remember the origin of the block, going back to the wing T days on the buck and on the power and other things of that nature. You're going to check the B gap, nothing shows, then you hinge, then you flip your hips, and not let a guy out here, okay, not let another D lineman do this. That's what you can't let happen, okay? Or a linebacker, whoever it is. And that's all you're trying to do. Now, if that cat, and I've even taught him this, if he runs upfield, y'all, if he runs upfield, forget him. Feed him fish heads. Because if he makes that play, we need another running back. All right, now here you see it. You got a 4-eye and you got a linebacker. Okay? And they'll play with you. And that's why you need to practice it a few times in the summer and then through the course of the season, depending on how it looks. Make sure on your inside run, you're practicing, stressing the backside tackle. Guys want nothing shut down a play to the left like B-gap run through on the right and vice versa. Make sure you're giving him these different looks so that kid knows B-gap, B-gap. Get in there, here he comes, boom. There is no hinge. You're not going to hinge out on that linebacker because the D-end or the D-tackle, whatever you want to call him, the D-lineman shot the B-gap. That's your dude. That is your guy. All right, up here at the top, I got him in a straight 4. He's head up. He's coming straight up the field. Gap, nothing comes. Make sure there's not a linebacker coming. Step in. Your presence is the check. And then flip or hinge and make sure he doesn't get to do that. You know what I'm saying? That. Okay? All right, then sometimes give him stack look, like a 3-3 stack right here. Have this guy go out and see if he'll follow him out. Okay, then you can jump his frame and say, hey, dude, no, you got B gap. Step in the B gap. If he comes, lock onto that linebacker. If the D end runs outside and then comes back, go back to what I originally said, you need a new running back. Okay? Or he's lined up too deep in the backfield. You got to shut off the B gap. All of the descriptions of it are pretty accurate. It's a pull check, it's a shut off, it's a cut off, it's a gap hinge, as I like to call it in my rules. It's a B gap flip. Remember, and I told y'all before about my rules. They're hyphenated. It's gap down backer, gap. Anything in the gap? Yes. Then you don't go to down backer. You're blocking gap, the guy in the gap. All right, gap down backer, gap, nobody in the gap, just somebody down. Yes, I'm not going to backer, I'm blocking down. That's what I mean by it's dash, it's a progression. B gap flip is a progression. Something in the B gap, boom, you've got it. It's not a dude. You do not have the D end on a gap hinge unless the D end comes in the B gap or takes like one step up the field, takes a hard turn, and is trying to come down the line to pursue the play. If you B gap flip him, let's see. Here's a good one right here. Look at this. So this kid right here, you B gap flip, you stopped him, and then the kid went like this. Like on the video I showed you. You hustle and run with him, but you can't stop that. Plus, if he makes that tackle, we're looking 5, 10, 15 yards down the field. Okay, he's just a good D lineman making his pursuit angle. Okay, you can't stop a guy from hitting you and then coming off this way. We can't block him all over the field here. Okay, so it's a good idea to give them different looks. Take a few minutes, several times this summer as we're getting ready to start. As I speak to you, most people are starting football practice either last week or this week coming up. It's a good time to work on this. If you're running power or buck or something like that where you got a backside guard counter, you got a backside guard pulling, you need to know how to run B-gap flip or B-gap hinge, and this is a great drill right here, okay? And over here, he's just in a 5 technique. He runs up the field, boom, I don't care, don't go out there to him. Okay, I'm going to show you some videos in just a moment. Don't go out there to him. Get your butt in the gap. Good, you know, they're watching film. If I'm coaching, if I'm a D coordinator, and I haven't been one in 20 years, But if I'm a D coordinator and they're a power team, okay, a power counter team, they're pulling a lot of backside guard. I'm watching the backside tackle. Okay, can I mess with that kid? Can I put a guy on a 5 coming hard and then slip somebody in the gap? Okay, teams have done that to us before. You know, they like a 3-3 team. I've even seen them where they do this. Put him way out here, stunt this guy out to sucker him out here, and then you got a fast linebacker coming down here behind the line making plays right here on the power, on the buck, or what counter, or whatever it is they're running, where you're pulling that guard. I've seen that. You've got to get your butt in the B gap. This guy is not going to make the play, okay? So, and then here it is traditional. But you got to stress him out in practice. Okay, y'all want to look at some video? Let's watch a little video of some Gap-Hinge. All right, now this is a pretty good one here. We're going to run a counter kind of action over here off kind of a jet spin look. Okay, there he is, stepping inside. Here he comes, flipping. Now, he doesn't need to run up the field with him. Once that kid ran up the field, he's a self-check. That's like Coach Chip on the three-point line. All right, now watch this one. Bad one. He got suckered. Okay, he got suckered. Now, what I mean by he got suckered, this kid here was playing pretty good 4 straight up all night. They did a 4-0-4 against us all night. This is semifinals. Okay? And, well, we did a pretty good job up front. We scored 61 in the semifinals. Yep, that's humble brag. And he had this kid thinking, I'm coming up here, coming up here. Same boy that did the good one on the very first video. Good football player. He's playing D2 ball up in North Georgia right now. Now, watch him. He's going to step out. See, that's not it. And that's when I think it was then. This is like 4 years ago. Is when I changed the rule and the way I say it in practice. B, gap, flip. And the kids already knew about how my rules were and that they're hyphenated. Okay? They're dash, which means it's progression. Step your butt in the B gap. Watch him. See him step out? Got him. Good job by the running back. It was about 3rd and 2. He picked up 4. Okay? All right, now this is a bad one here. All right, this is lazy feet. Get your butt in the B gap. All right, and also you say, well, he's going to get this guy here. But I want y'all to see, and you say, well, Coach, it didn't happen. It could have happened. Watch the B gap. Wide the crap open. See, he just takes a little shuffle step. He gets to do. And you say, well, he did a good job. I don't know anything about it. Step inside. Okay, we're trying to stop worst case scenario. See right there? Look at the B gap. This kid right here can run through. Y'all see what I'm talking about? I mean, he's hustling and all that. And then, instead of flipping his hips and torquing to the left inside, he lets the kid torque to get him and flip him out. I'd step in and then step back. Then flip. That's the hinge. Okay? Got to pull him guard. He's going to pull toward us. Don't go so far back and don't give him the inside. Don't go so far back. Just step in, boom, and flip. Right there, you can stop. I've even coached them. Once they run their butt straight up the field, you can release and go downfield and find a safety. This was horrible. See what I mean? Okay, just step in. Don't wait to see what they're going to do. Well, I'm going to wait and see if they come in the B gap. No. On the snap, get in the B gap. Step into the B gap, then hinge or flip. Step, see? And you can't get both of them. You can't get both of them. All right. So, that's the gap hinge. That's a good drill for you to do. Hey, remember, share it, subscribe to it, like it. Don't know what it is about them algorithms. Like it. Comment down below. Hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com. Join the conversation at Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook. Until next time, be elite.